What's going on, people, and welcome to Man Knows Football. You are here with Guni for a transfer video. We've got some good news and we've got some seemingly bad news, unfortunately, that we've got to talk about today. But obviously, people, I've got to get straight into it. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Help us get up to 15k so we can start that road to 20. Also, smash the like button so we can get up in the algorithm, and leave your thoughts down there in the comments after the video so I can come back and see what you lot are thinking. So, we're going to start off with the first bit of good news. Benoit Badiashile, the 22-year-old French centre-back, formerly now of Monaco, has officially signed for Chelsea Football Club in what's rumoured to be a €35 million deal. I'm not sure if there's any add-ons or whatever, I'm going by memory, but that is the rough figure of how much this transfer is going to cost. It is signed, sealed, delivered. It is official. Benoit Badiashile has signed his contract at the club, training gear and all sorts. The most official way that you can confirm that a player has joined the club. But let's see what the club has had to say about the player. So this is from the club's official website, and it says Benoit Badiashile has completed a permanent transfer to Chelsea from AS Monaco, signing a 7.5-year contract at Stamford Bridge. That is a long time. The central defender has been a regular in Ligue 1 for the past 5 seasons and recently made his senior debut for France, having represented Les Bleus all the way up from under 16 level. Despite the fact that he only turns 22 in March, so he's 21, my bad, so he's gonna turn 22. I was almost there, I was close. Badiashile already boasts significant experience in the French top flight and in Europe, where he has featured in the Champions League and Europa League for Monaco, amassing almost 150 appearances in all competitions to date. So we'll stop there. Despite only being 21 years old, you can see that he's already got a wealth of experience underneath his belt. He looks to be a big lad as well. Obviously, as I go on to read, you're going to see some more of his physical attributes and just how imposing that he actually is. But for that amount of experience, man, and the fact that, you know, he's done it in the Champions League, Ligue 1 as well. Some people call it the Farmers League. I don't like to call it that. A lot of good players come from that league, as you lot very well know. At 6'4", Badiashile is a dominant defender in the air, but equally comfortable with the ball at his feet. Capable of playing short passes out from the back or switching play with the longer diagonals. His blistering speed is a key attribute, and he has experience in both of a back 4 and back 3 at club level. He earned a regular place at Monaco's left-sided centre-back while still a teenager, and was handed its international debut by Didier Deschamps back in September, aged just 21 years old. A reward for his prominent role in back-to-back third-place finishes for the Principality side in Ligue 1. So clearly you can see that there's a talent there. As you know, it's very difficult to get into the French side. The amount of talent that they produce year in, year out, it's literally an overflow. It's an overflow. So to be able to come out of all of that and to actually even put on the French shirt at a senior level, that is an achievement in itself. That shows to me that the guy has got a lot of promise. So I'm quite excited with Benoit Badiashile. I'm not going to lie to you. Before I read all of this, I thought this is going to be a guy that we might see in the next up-and-coming few seasons. But with the experience that he's already got, potentially he might be used as a rotational option this season. We might see him sooner rather than later. And why not? Why not? I mean, he's definitely got the physicality to compete in the Premier League. It says he's very good in the air, good with both feet as well, you know, so technically, clearly he's got the ability to, you know, develop into something special, and I hope he can do that at Chelsea Football Club, man, honestly. 35 million euros, again, the rumoured fee for the player. Not a bad price, not a bad price. The only thing that I will say, 7.5 years on a contract is a huge risk. It's a long deal, and if it doesn't work out, it's going to be very hard to get rid of the player. But we're not going to take that view. We're going to be positive. Player's going to succeed. He's going to get the developments that he needs, and he's going to be a success at Chelsea Football Club. So that's the news on our brand new signing, Benoit Badiashile. It's been a long time coming. Most of us have known, those that are on social media have seen that this deal has been done for the past couple of weeks or so. Obviously, the transfer window only opened a few days ago on the 1st of January. So for it to become official and the player to join, have to wait for that window to open. So here we are, Benoit Badiashile welcome to Chelsea Football Club. I really hope he comes and he hits the ground running. Looks to be a great prospect. Let's see how he develops over the next few years. Now for the not so good news. Obviously, the media have been dominated with news of this potential transfer, Enzo Fernandez of Benfica to Chelsea. It was hotting up over the past few days. Several reputable journalists did report that Chelsea were willing to pay above the €120 million release clause, a sum of 127 million, to incentivize Benfica to sell the player, but to do it on terms that were going to satisfy financial fair play for Chelsea. So the incentive there obviously is to go 7 million above the release clause, but for Chelsea, so it doesn't hurt us in other areas or we're not under the financial fair play microscope, to spread that payment over the player's contract. So when Enzo signs, each season a payment is made, so that way we can write it off and in a different way, and financial fair play will be happy with that. But to pay that kind of sum up front definitely might stifle us in other key positions that we need to address. Now, the first bit of news that we got about this came from Fabrizio Romano last night, and he said as follows: Chelsea official proposal for Enzo Fernandez was never €120 million or €127 million. The final proposal made to Benfica was €85 million. Chelsea have never discussed a €120 million release clause. There is no agreement at all after new meeting in the afternoon, as revealed earlier. So that was the first tweet that came out from Fabrizio Romano, and that just tells us that although Chelsea knew that Benfica had maintained that they want the full release clause or nothing, they still offered the €85 million fee. And if that is true, that is poor from Chelsea. And not to mention, Benfica, this club is a very, very reputable club in terms of scouting the right players and turning them and getting them up to the next level and selling them on. And usually the players that they sell on, listen, Darwin Núñez, one of the exceptions to the rule, obviously, but usually they go on and they seem to do very well. Chelsea do have a history with Benfica. David Luiz, the first name that comes to mind. Several other players have come from there that are now playing in the that have previously played in the Premier League, and those that perhaps haven't, they've gone on and had excellent careers. So Benfica is not really a club that you want to be having sour relationships with, man. Chelsea are definitely going to have to do something in terms to mend that if this is true. I understand there's no agreement after a new meeting today between Chelsea and Benfica for Enzo Fernandez. It was never a done deal. It's not done as of now. After meetings and talks, there's still no agreement on key details on release clause and payment terms. You know, in my opinion, nothing in between those two tweets was said that the deal's completely off. Chelsea can't come back and make something happen. Obviously, I'm going to talk about that as the video goes on. The Benfica manager did come out and give his thoughts of how the Benfica board felt and how he felt about the whole situation around Enzo Fernandez. And trust me, he did not sound too happy. Rui Costa doesn't sound too happy. In fact, Benfica as a whole don't sound too happy, which concerns me based on what I was saying earlier about Benfica as a club. But let's see what Ben Jacobs has had to say in one of his threads. Benfica boss Roger Schmidt accuses Chelsea of disrespecting Benfica and pretending they can pay the release clause before trying to negotiate a fee. Schmidt adds, Chelsea have made Enzo Fernandez crazy, and says he cannot accept what they are doing. So that's the first part of what was said. He then goes on to quote exactly in English. Well, I assume, because I haven't actually seen the original interview itself, but I assume that it was done in Portuguese. And this is an English translation. And with translations, sometimes we've got to be careful because a direct translation doesn't always accurately translate the meaning of what's being said. I know like what I said is a bit of a mouthful, but you lot I'm pretty sure understand what I'm trying to say. There's a club who wants our player. They know we don't want to sell the player. They try to get the player on their side, and they know they can only get this player when they pay the release clause. So it's a very clear situation. What the club is doing, who wants to buy Enzo, is disrespectful against all of us, against Benfica, and I cannot accept what they're doing. So to make the player crazy and then to pretend that they can pay the release clause and later they want to negotiate, I think it is not what I understand about a good relationship between clubs who maybe want to discuss about the player. As you can hear there, he does not sound too happy, and he's just basically in really a polite but still a very firm and stern way to let them know, like let the press and the people know that they're not happy with the dealings of Chelsea and how they've moved with Enzo Fernandez. Certainly, like, if anything, they've just confirmed that the player's head's been turned. We've heard in the media in previous days that Enzo Fernandez does want to join Chelsea Football Club, that his head had been turned. So that, as far as we know, sounds like it's true. But Ben Jacobs then goes on to contextualise what was said. Chelsea sources maintain that they never had any intent to simply trigger the release clause and will not be held to ransom. But if they still want Enzo, they may have to do this because Benfica are dismayed by what one club source terms as a flip-flop negotiation tactic. This is why a close deal is not the same as a done deal. There have always been key points of difference on structure and fee. Chelsea have explored multiple options, which has frustrated Benfica, but it is also just how a negotiation for a deal like this big was likely to work. But Benfica wanted a clearer and consistent approach from original talks last year, and anything concluded fast. That's what puts Chelsea in a difficult position now. Benfica are bullish and feel disrespected. So as you can see there, with like all of the tweets, the Romanos, even the Ben Jacobs, and even like him trying to contextualize it, nobody has fully closed the door on this deal, which is why until this transfer window shut, I believe something can still happen between Chelsea and Benfica. Because look, Benfica, they're not going to get as much money in the summer. We all know this. And really and truly, Benfica, they can take that money and invest in several other players and get probably 300-400 million out of them in the future, potentially, if they develop them right, if they come up in the mould of Enzo Fernandez. And given their track record, they might get one or two of those. And even still, it's a win-win situation for them. And it's a win-win situation for Chelsea. So 120 million could do a lot for that club. It will be good for them. But again, if rumours are to be true, because remember, we haven't had an official statement come out from Chelsea Football Club. Benfica's managers come out and spoken. We haven't heard anything from Potter, Todd Bowley, or anybody yet from Chelsea. So if they did make the approach the way they did, knowing that Benfica were insistent on the release clause being paid, then that's just terrible from Todd Bowley, Egbali, whoever was involved in this deal. Do you know what I mean? It's just not a good look. And it's like I said, Benfica are not really the club that you want to be upsetting, given the talent that they produce season in, season out. We can find ourselves easily going back to them to try and get one of their players. And if relationships are sour, our application might be put at the bottom of the pile. And that's definitely not what you want with Benfica. But look, I'm not convinced that this is fully over. But I do hope that Chelsea, out of embarrassment, don't make a knee-jerk reaction and pay this full release clause, and we've got to suffer in other areas that desperately need addressing, i.e. the destroyer number 6, CDM role, or whatever you want to call it, the right-back situation, and however you look at even the winger situation or the goalkeeper situation, whichever that you feel is the priority in Chelsea that needs to be fixed. We cannot risk not addressing those areas anymore. Enzo Fernandez, for me, a great addition, a talent of that level you can't really say no to. And the way this deal has been made so publicised, I think Chelsea need to get this done. They need to get this over the line. I'm not a fan of them paying the release clause all up front. I still believe that if we say to them, look, the 85 million still on the table, but let's work on paying the rest of that money over the next couple of seasons while Enzo's here, and everyone's happy. You get your release clause, you get a lump sum of the transfer fee up front. It doesn't hurt us as much for FFP. Everybody's happy. Hopefully we can do that. Or has it got to a point where relationship has been broken down so much that that ship is sailed and the only option for Chelsea is to trigger that release clause? But with that release clause comes paying taxes, etc., etc. So it is more than 127 million euros, taxes, agent fees, and so on and so forth. A lot of money to commit. So if it's a deal that doesn't get done, Chelsea, it's not good how this has been publicised. And we've been saying from the last transfer window, Todd Bowley and the whole PR team need to learn how to keep transfers quiet to avoid these public embarrassments, or Could this be a case of the media just using Chelsea's name? Because on the flip side, it could be them. Because look, we're a very easy target in terms of the amount of money that we're throwing around and that's been rumoured that we can spend. It's easy to use us as leverage for several reasons, for several stories. Slow season, or to benefit players to get better leverages on contracts, which is what I'm thinking is going on with Mudryk, better transfer fees. Chelsea will be that name. Yeah, this is just how the game works. But people, let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. Do you think there's still potential for this deal to get done? Or do you believe the reports and you feel that Chelsea, there's no way of coming back unless the release clause is paid? What do you think is going to happen here? And also as well, let me know your thoughts on Badiashile. Do you reckon he's going to develop into a top talent at Chelsea Football Club? Will we see him start sooner rather than later? I would love to know your thoughts. But until then, people, make sure you smash that subscribe button if you are new. Help us get up to 15k so we can start the road to 20. Also, smash the like button so you can get us up in the algorithm, and leave your thoughts down there in the comments as well. Stay safe, people. Up the Chelsea. Bless.